Well, hello and welcome to the live stream. This is Susan for SLC Aquatics, known as hashtag Fishfam Mom. And today's guest is none other than Ethan of Fish Mania, Chattanooga. So at this time, I'm going to bring him up since he's such a busy man. Welcome to the show, Ethan.
Hello.
I'm so happy to have you as my special guest today. We right now have about five. We've had seven at one time already waiting on us. So at
Beautiful.
this time, I'd like to say hello to who was it? Mystery Snail Guardians, Multiple Aquariums, Paul McCarthy. We have Manes, Tails, Fur and Fins, Jess from the Aquatic Morning Show. And Dan Slee is lurking and listening. And we have Natural Aquariums. And Zen Ginger is in the house. Hey, Zen, how are you doing? And Muppet 929. So at this time, if you all do not know Ethan, at this time, Ethan is going to come forward to tell you a little bit about himself. And who knows, might have some surprises.
There you go. So my name is Ethan Dickinson, and I recently bought Fish Mania Chattanooga, or Fish Mania in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which put me in a great spot because, if you guys have watched Chattanooga Ed or Kaler's Aquatics, they were my customers before I knew that they even did YouTube. And then they invited me on Bob Kaler's panel, and now, of course, I'm here with you guys. But anyways, I just bought, I shouldn't say just, it's been about a year. I bought Fish Mania in Chattanooga. I've been a manager at the store, I guess, for 6 years, and then I've owned it for one. And it's going, leaps and bounds beyond what I can ever dream for it to be. I am making a lot of changes and just trying to, I guess, update it. So for people that don't know about my store, it is the oldest store in Chattanooga. It has been open since 1978 and strong since then. But the owner was getting older. He is kind of stuck in his ways. And I wanted to, I was the manager, and it got to a point where either I was going to go and do something completely different with my life like everybody else. That's what I say about all of my employees, is that one day either college or school or other endeavors will take them away from me, because this is not like a lifetime job. This is, unless you own the store, it's not a lifetime job. It's more of a part-time or a pit stop job.
Gotcha.
And but I got to that point where I was either going to go to college and do something, or I was going to buy the store. And I chose the right choice, in my opinion, in buying the store, because he was retiring. He talked about retiring. I talked to him about, the possibilities of buying a fish store and what he liked about it, and I liked, he had two kids that he, put through school, and, he raised a family with the business. And I was like, you know what? I really, really love this, and I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I got it.
Yay!
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 Yeah.
That's exciting. You keep freshwater and saltwater.
Yes, I do. Freshwater and saltwater personally, and then also in the store. Not that it's a death sentence not to keep saltwater in a fish store, but around in this market, it kind of is. Because it's it's a very interesting market as far as a fish store is concerned. It's very 50-50 when it comes to saltwater and freshwater. So you kind of have to keep both.
Good. I know there are certain stores in my local area here in Birmingham. At one time, they were heavily saltwater. Then all of a sudden, they just had one saltwater tank in the back that most of the time the lights weren't on.
Really?
And he went totally freshwater and then reptiles.
Huh.
Okay? And you might know him or I've heard of him. Well, it's called Ed's Pet Store here in Homewood.
I have. Yeah.
But Seth owns it. And I have not been there in about 3 years. I used to be known as the Guppy Lady, because when I first got started, I was taking hundreds of guppies to him, at least once a month.
Wow.
And I was going to interview him and turn of events here at my house. And then I started just breeding my own fish, so I was selling out of the house. But
Very
this
nice.
is this is not about you. But he's gone back on almost all saltwater and a
Wow.
few freshwater tanks.
Huh.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that market, this is just my mindset because I've been able to see how this market works. And we're very blessed in Chattanooga to have such a 50-50 market because I am very interested in both aspects. So I would be distraught to have an only freshwater, only saltwater store because I like both of them so much. But I wonder if his market, did it change hands? Did the owners change and that's why the selection changed?
To my knowledge, the ownership stayed the same.
Interesting.
I think he's in partnership with one of the managers there. And like I said, my knowledge is old. It's about 3 years old. And he also does other services out of under the umbrella of his
Like,
store. Maintenance, birthday parties where they take the
oh,
alligator with his mouth taped, and
uh,
um,
gotcha.
they have a land turtle that's Gertrude that's probably 36 to 40 years old, and
Hmm.
he's got an albino python or a boa. I don't know snakes, so he's got
I
a
don't either.
he's got a large one. I don't know. She might be close to 16 feet now, but
Wow.
she stays in the store, and they take her out for show and tell.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
is the market down there, is it very large? Like, do you have a lot of fish people down there?
It can't, yes, and it's kind of spread out. So
Hmm.
you're either close to a store or you're far away from a store, but there's multiple kinds of hobbyists in my area. There is an Alabama Cichlid Association here.
Oh, very cool.
There is also a Corridora organization. I haven't been to
For
any
the
of them.
toys.
Yeah, and
Wow.
um, but there is a division, a thick
Mhm.
wall between those societies and clubs. Um, if if you don't hang out in their group on Facebook, they don't let you in. They don't talk
Really?
to you. They don't answer your questions.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, like in this area, we never really had a club. That's why I started the Chattanooga. Well, now it used to be Chattanooga Aquatics Club, and then it changed names to Chattanooga Aquarium or Aquatics.
So
Sorry, Chattanooga Area Aquatics Society.
yes.
Um, when I started that, it was I went everywhere else. I didn't know if fish clubs existed, you know, and I went everywhere else looking for, well, I was really just convincing myself to buy a fish store, but it was more like asking questions like why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? Would you do it again if you had the chance? Um, I don't know. It's a very, how do I say that? It's it was weird to me looking at all of these different places and seeing so much connection and so much like community because I went to Knoxville, I went to Nashville, I went to Atlanta, and in Atlanta, everyone's connected. People get discounts at the stores if they're in the club. There's the auctions every, I think it's 2 a year, and then meetings every month, and it was crazy. So when I came back, I was like, there's a guy named Andy in the area. I don't know if he watches these, but if he does, there's a guy named Andy in the area, and I was talking to him in the store. I was like, dude, we got to get together and talk about fish. we got to get together because I think it's so important to have good community. So it's very confusing to me that your fish clubs are so like, I guess so. I don't know. Not that it's like
Yeah,
they
they're
stay away.
departmentalized.
Yeah, yeah,
but
which is so interesting.
but then you have some great people that like in our area. we tried to get a society going, and there is a Facebook page called the Greater Birmingham Aquatic Society. We formed
Mhm.
back in January of 2020 before all of this crazy stuff happened.
Ooh, and then it. Ugh,
And then
ugh.
we I spent months on bylaws and
Yeah.
uploaded the file, and I've had a couple virtual meetings because we still don't have an
Yeah.
organization. We don't have president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. So
Yeah.
we're still floating around, and a few things
Sure.
I tried to do. The man who was organizing it locally shot my ideas down, even though I was
Ooh,
having open air events or
yeah.
wanted to, and a few were in favor of it. And he said he's you know spent too much time building the Facebook page that he didn't want to damage it. So I kind of
Hmm.
bowed out quietly for a little while. I
Right.
still participate in the chat, but I'm not helping to organize anything anymore. I went and on Facebook created I created SLC Aquatics Club, and it's
Yeah.
not organized either, but it's there and building membership now.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to get something local, but a lot of people still complain about, well, the meeting places are just too far for me to travel.
Interesting.
So you have to go with who's actually interested.
Yeah.
And like your CAAS society there in Chattanooga, you've had some great turnouts at
Yeah.
different locations already. Haven't you had two this year?
We've had two this year, two swaps, if you will, um, where we get a bunch of vendors and then a bunch of people come out, and they have great turnout. I love the swaps, and that's mainly because it gives people an output for how do I say that? An output for their fish that they're breeding. It also gets everybody together. My favorite, my favorite part of the fish club, though, is not those meetings. It's the meetings where, and that's what the club was formed on, was just meeting at a coffee house and posting on YouTube, or not posting on YouTube, posting on Facebook. Hey, we're gonna meet here, and we're gonna say. Yeah, we're going to meet here and we're going to talk about this topic, or it's just general talking or whatever. And we did that for a good year and a half. And then it kind of faded as we started to plan the bigger events. But soon I'm going to start getting that up and going because I miss it so much. Just
Yeah.
having a topic and going. And we used to live stream them on Chattanooga Aquatics Club Facebook page before it switched to CAAS. But I don't even know if that's still up. But all of those were all live streamed where the conversation was there for other hobbyists if they ever needed help or advice or whatever on certain topics. Like we talked out algae, we talked out different testing. Because we're here. I don't know. I like talking to people about fish, if I'm honest, and I like that community of getting people together to do that, like we're doing right now.
Right.
It's just so much fun. Like the panels with Bob or with Mr. Kaler, it's amazing. Anyways,
Yeah.
I just
I
I
I
love the
really
community.
enjoy that panel that you're on at Kaler's Aquatics and Exotics and Susie Q and I forget now. He gave me a
Skippy,
list of who is it?
Skippy,
Hippie.
Skippy.
Oh, Skippy.
Like
You call him Skip. Yeah, Skipper.
I think it's a funny name.
It is. It is.
Skipper's Aquatics or something. Yeah.
Yep, he is, and he was my guest last Thursday. He came back.
Nice.
He came back from his family vacation. He was so exhausted, you could tell, but he put out an effort and a half. We had a really good time too. Let me see. You can't please everyone, Susan. Getting people off their couch is the challenge. Okay, Select Pet was saying you can't please everyone, and getting people off their couch is the challenge. And that's true
It's
because to me, if you're serious about this hobby,
Yeah.
and you're in the state, um,
Mm-hmm.
you ought to push forth an effort.
Yeah.
So I understand the type of remarks that I would get about people saying, well, that's too far. Hoover's too far. Homewood's too far. McCullough's definitely out of the question. But I had, let's see, in 2019, I did a group meeting in McCullough, and I had 5 people show up. Woohoo! In the middle of a
Woo!
tornado.
Wow.
But we were watching the weather the whole time.
Yeah. But you got to talk about fish.
Of course, I filmed it, was live with my
It was so
laptop
cool.
on a projector. Oh, I had fun. I was the one-man show.
There you go.
And we had different guests lined up, to be guest speakers, but because of the
Right.
weather, it didn't happen.
Right.
So they're sharing. This is your YouTube channel, Fishmania Chattanooga.
Yeah.
And I know that Lori was sharing the Facebook
The
page.
face.
Oh, that's
Very
the
cool.
website. I didn't know you had a website.
It,
Great.
it's really old. I wouldn't share that.
Okay. Hide it.
That's one of the. No, you're good. That's one of the things that we haven't worked on yet. I've been mainly working like in the store and then on YouTube and on Facebook. And then when you get into like the website is probably been there since the internet is how do I say that? It's probably been there since the internet has existed, if I'm quite honest. But yeah, no, it's insane. It's so old, and you go to it, and it's got like pictures of neon discus. Ugh. Anyways, it's just gross.
I understand. But here, Select Pet is saying to stream them or archive them on YouTube. If you find those videos in the old group,
Mhm.
you, if you're the owner, can, well, that is hard to do because Facebook doesn't allow you to download videos like YouTube
Yeah,
does. So getting it from Facebook to YouTube would be difficult unless you actually have the video on hand.
right.
Because
I
I
think it was
used to
direct.
stream on another platform. It was Ustream TV. And then
Oh,
as I was cleaning out the archive, I was uploading files to YouTube one at a time. Of course, the quality wasn't that good, but the
no, of
information
course.
was. And so when I got what I wanted up there, then I just deleted all of that archive because there was a transition several years back where the broadcast software I was using for the encoding was going away. And I think it's based out of Wirecast format, and they were
Mm.
charging 200 and something dollars a year,
Oh my gosh.
to use that. So I found OBS and said Yahoo, and then we found StreamYard. So
Mm. And I owned the Facebook, but yeah, that's the problem I was running into is I couldn't find out how to get the files off of Facebook because it was a direct stream. Like it wasn't, we didn't take a video and then post it. It was, we streamed it on Facebook. So I couldn't find out. But I should go back and see if I can. It's been about a year since I've tried.
yeah, the only way to capture that would be in a controlled booth room where you could
Mm-hmm.
refilm it and then take that film and upload it. You could do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Hey Al, how you doing?
You put a few, while I was talking, you had put a few questions up there, and I didn't get to see them because
Well,
I
I
was.
actually were comments, so I'm going to go all the way back up. Let me see. It was
Never
cute.
mind.
It was a cute little
It was cute.
comment. Oh yeah, it was a cute little comment. Somebody sees you as a young Corey.
Oh, I'm flattered.
Yes.
Yeah, he was. I've only met him once, and he was. I don't know how he does the stuff he does, but I met him at Aquashella Dallas, the first Aquashella Dallas.
Uh-huh.
So not the first year Aquashella happened, but because the first year it was in Chicago only, and then the second year that they were doing it, I think it was 2019. They did one in Chicago, and then they did one in Dallas. And I went to the one in Dallas. And when I went to that, he had, it was something like he had flown from another event and he had barely slept, but he had the longest line of people waiting to see him. And he answered every question. He answered, like, he was getting berated. It's like what I do here, but it was at a show and it was constant, like people were asking questions. Hey, can you sign this? Hey, can you take a picture? I was just so impressed. That was probably one of the coolest. It was very interesting to see, because he didn't even get to go and look around at the show. He was just bombarded with people the entire time. But he was so kind to everyone that came by and answered everybody's questions. It was awesome. It was really cool.
He is still awesome. He has to have a format for what he's doing, but he is still very helpful, very into the community. And just like you're into educating the community. I want you to enjoy your hobby. I still want to make a living off of this, but I'm not going to sell you bad information, and I'm not going to say, that's your key right there, right?
That's the main thing. And Corey's talked about it a lot in his older videos. Like when I first started watching him, and I didn't know that I was going to be owning a fish store, he would talk about all the time how it's still a business. He would talk about how he had never done business in his life. He just wanted to do fish, but it's still a business. Unfortunately, if you want to continue to help people in the hobby, you can't just give everything away. You have to be fair and actually do business, but be fair to yourself is what I mean, and be fair to the people that are working for you and helping people as well. But it's one of the hardest things for a fish store owner, I think, if you're in it for the right reasons, helping everyone every single day. And how do I say that? That's like somebody that comes in and has a 10-gallon and wants an Oscar. Like, how do you of course I know how to now, but when I first started working at a fish store, how do you go in and say diplomatically no and teach them why, instead of you saying no and then them going to Petco PetSmart and buying the same thing, because that's what happens a lot of the time. A lot of people just tell them no, just say no. But if you just say no, all that happens is they take a picture of that fish and then they go to Petco and PetSmart and they buy the same fish, and then nothing happened except for that they didn't buy anything from you. So how I approach it is I say, I'm going to sell you whatever the heck you want to buy. But here's what I'm going to say first. I don't want you to waste your money. I don't want you to waste your time. I want you to enjoy this hobby just like I enjoy it, just like you see me so excited in here to help you and to answer questions and to be with these fish all the time. I want you to be just as excited every day when you look at this fish tank. And if you have a 10-gallon tank, I think it would look great with this fish, that fish, and that fish together, and have some plants and blah, blah, blah. And then you show them the display tank and what they could have. And then you say, this Oscar is going to get 18 inches. And if you have this Oscar in your tank, it's not going to be very good. Your tank is 20 inches. The Oscar is going to get 18 inches. The math doesn't really add up very well. So here are my other options. I'm not telling you no. I'm saying, please consider something that might be better for you and better suited for the environment that you have. And most of the time, people say, absolutely, yes, cool, let's do that. Because you can convince them to do the right thing, in a roundabout way, because then it's their idea. It's not you saying no and then them being like, okay, we just won't shop with you. It's you saying, well, let me, yes, but let's look at maybe something that might be better. And that's how I approach stuff like that. And that's what I think one of the hardest parts of being a fish store owner and still a hobbyist is. Because if I was a fish store owner and I didn't care about the hobby or didn't care about my hobbyists, I'd just be like, absolutely, put that Oscar in that 10-gallon. That would be great. Awesome. Because that's another sale. It's what that person wants. It's going to make them happy. I help them keep it for as long as possible. And then It dies, they get another one, you know. But I want them to be happy. I want the fish to be happy, and I really want them to get into it instead of, you know, have an Oscar in a 10-gallon, because they're not going to get into it if they have an Oscar in a 10-gallon.
Right.
But yeah,
Well, how about this scenario? Let's help the customer through phases with a fish that's going to get large. Say I've got
yeah,
a 2-inch Oscar I'm buying from you, and I'm buying a 20-gallon tank, or I have a
yeah,
20-gallon tank set up. What ratio should I start looking for the next size up? If I'm
for the
going
better,
to
for a bigger
advance to a
tank.
larger aquarium, should I
Yeah.
do the 50%? Uh, what is a 2-gallon high is what, 24 inches? So if my Oscar is getting like already 6 inches, maybe I should go on to the 55-gallon next step up.
So what I tell people when it comes to upgrading tanks, because if they say, yeah, I'm going to get them a bigger tank as they grow, I'm like, okay, let's go with that then. If you're going to start him in a 10-gallon, as soon as he gets to be, so how do I say that? As soon as he gets to be 3/4 of the width of the tank. So if the tank is 12 inches and that fish gets to be, um, uh, gosh, if that tank is 12 inches and that fish gets to be 9 inches, then I want them to get another tank that is wider, because you need to have a tank that that fish can turn around in, but you also have to think
Yeah.
about the length of the tank,
Yeah.
depending on how fast that fish is going to swim. If it swims a lot, like, okay, so an Oscar is not going to swim around as much as, say, a bunch of tetras. You know, tetras are zooming back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Oscars need a lot of room, but it's not because they move around a lot. They just are kind of, you know, mosiers. They mosey around the tank. While a tetra needs a lot of room, about the same size tank, in my opinion, like bigger ones like the Buenos Aires or the Colombian Blues or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because they're swimming back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. They need that space to swim, just like a rainbow fish.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's very different. The same goes with like an eel or a ghost knife. They're not moving around a lot at all. So they don't need as much space to move around. I would say I don't think about length when it comes to those fish. I think about the width, if they can turn around or not. But with a fish that's going to move around, so like a silver dollar, for instance, I was trying to think of a big fish that moves around a lot. A silver dollar, they need a long tank and they need a wide tank because they get, you know, big, and they swim around a lot. So they need the length of the tank, and then they need to be able to turn around. So that matters. And then also how big your fish is matters because of the size of the tank and the filtration, how much water you have, how fast that tank's going to get dirty. You need to make sure you're telling them the right amount of fish to get. Yeah, it's just a lot. It's a puzzle. You need to find out what they want and then tell them what's going to go well with it. How, if we're talking about upgrading an Oscar from a 10-gallon when it's little all the way up to when it's an adult, you got to tell them, alrighty, you're going to worry more about the width of the fish. If it is 9 inches, you need to get a bigger tank than a 12-inch tank. That's, or 12 inches this way.
Yeah.
But also they have to think they're going to swim around, so you need a longer tank. And you just kind of work through with them when they're going to have to do that, because that fish is going to grow incredibly fast, faster than they think. And hopefully they just don't do it and don't put an Oscar in a 10-gallon, because a lot of times if somebody's just coming into your store to get an Oscar in a 10-gallon, they're not going to upgrade their tank. They're going to tell you that they are, and then they're never going to do it. But who knows? It could be different.
So when you're meeting that new customer for the first time, you try to make a rapport with them to find out what their goals are in the hobby. Are you just wanting to set up a community tank to sit back and relax? Or are you wanting to get into species tanks and et cetera? You have to get to know the customer. And a lot of times when I got started, again, 7 years ago, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just know I wanted some guppies again, and found the 20-gallon tall kit on sale for 99 bucks. So I got started with 3 pregnant females, because for years when I would look at fish, I couldn't find females, only male guppies for a season. And I'm like, why don't you all have females? And they said, well, we just don't get them in. We don't order them in because people want the color. They don't want the
Yeah.
blah. And then I think it was because they didn't want to deal with the females dropping fry and them, being the million fish. You didn't want to have that activity going on in your pet store. You wanted volume of other types of fish.
Yeah. So do you know why they don't sell in fish stores? They don't usually sell pairs of any given guppy.
Never asked.
Okay. So the reason is, and I called wholesalers about this for a good 2 months when I first bought the store, because I was then ordering fish and I had to worry about what I wanted to keep, and I never knew either. So when you get with the wholesaler, you can almost never buy the female version of any fancy guppy. And that's because the the farmers that farm the guppies don't let you. They sell the males with all the color, and then the female versions they put in a big bin and they mix them all together, so that you can never find the right females. So if you want a specific pair of guppy, you buy it from the farmer to breed. But the reason that they do that is because the farmers want to get the same amount of money for the guppies, and they know if they sell the female and the male, people will flood the market with that type of guppy, and then they won't be able to get as much money out of them. Okay. So they give all the males, because they can't, you can maybe get the same, but if you put a red Dumbo Delta with a snakeskin, you're going to get not one of either of those. You're going to get a mixture of both of them, and it's very frustrating to try and mix it up that way or match them that way. So people they'll give all the males. It's very hard to find a female that will give you the same as that male every single time, and you have to put in the work and the effort, and most people won't do that. So they give them all the males, and then all the farmers get together and they mix their females all together, and then they give them all the females.
Yep. I wanted you to see this comment, New Local Austin.
Oh, yeah?
Jenna, and I need a little help understanding. First of all, she says, I'm liking this guy. I'm scared to ask about Goonies. I don't know what they mean, Goonies or Gobies. And then,
or maybe Goonies.
Huh?
Hey, you guys.
Yeah, she's a youngin', I can tell, because she said so many feels with Ed today. So I know Ed and Rickistan came on before us.
Yeah.
For the Afternoon Delight show, and they always talk about anything, not
right.
always fish related. So, Jenna, if you would like to elaborate a little bit on your question or your comment there, feel free to do so. And New Local Austin said, oh, okay, talking about him doing models. I know there was Select Pet. Says, I used to order pairs of guppies from my wholesaler when I had a pet store, but rarely sold females because very few people wanted them. And this was years ago, though. Yeah, many people didn't want to deal with the overpopulation of the guppy, but they wanted those pretty colors. They wanted a community tank with multicolored males. And I understand that's that type of hobbyist. But if you have a hobbyist who's wanting to get into breeding, you really need to find a breeder. And I have a friend who is an IFGA breeder, and to watch his process is quite interesting. He'll put, after he's worked on a strain and they're self-producing themselves, and that takes years to develop a strain that will maybe still throw one or two off things, and you cull them out. And but his females that are born, as soon as he's able to sex his guppies, he has a net. It's not really a net, but he has an area in the same water that he puts the females in, so they remain virgin. So you can sell those virgin females or use them as a breeding female with a strong male or two later. And then he keeps some females in the same tank to mingle with the males to keep reproducing what he's seeing. And if he's not happy with them, he'll pull those females and start breeding with some of the virgin females. But you can get good money for a virgin female.
Yeah, agreed. He should definitely Select Pet should definitely find me on Facebook or something and message me, because I have 4 different freshwater wholesalers, and all of them, when you look at it, it's lists of males and then it says mixed female. And that's all 4 of my wholesalers. So I would love to know who and he's out of the business, I guess. So I would love to know who he ordered pairs from. I would love that, because I want them back.
You have an email right quick.
Email for I actually don't have a store email yet.
So he would have to email you personally, or just hit you up on Facebook?
No. So hit us up on Facebook. Fish Mania Chattanooga. That's how we tell most people to get a hold of us customer wise. Just because, like for me, the only difference between an email and getting in touch with us on Facebook or Instagram or whatever is that with an email, sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle with all of the different invoices and wholesaler lists and everything. So I would much rather have it in a list where I can be like, oh, let me go through and look at all of these customer questions or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. And if they're not on Facebook, you mentioned Instagram. Are you?
Instagram. Yeah. Fishmania Chattanooga. Same name.
Okay. Same thing on Instagram. So if Lori wants to find that for me, I appreciate it, and share it in chat. And that way, Select Pet, if you don't do Facebook, you can hit him up on Instagram. And want to say hi to those I've missed. Melvin, and there's my sweetheart Amber. Big City Bettas is in the house. Hey there. She's working hard and relocated to Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow.
It's Michael. I found out Chattanooga Ed does not like Goonies, Harry Potter, Sandlot, and other childhood favorites. I had to break up with him. It's not the same now.
So he doesn't like Harry Potter or the Goonies?
Oh, you might want to break up with me too, okay?
You don't like it? Wow.
Mine is for different reasons that I won't go into here. We'll stay fishy here. How about that?
Yeah. I'm gonna need to talk to Ed though. That's crazy. Wow.
Select Pet says, we talk on Facebook. My wholesaler was in Louisville, and they shut down years ago too.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I love you, Amber. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Also, it's been probably, I don't know how long ago he owned his fish store, but probably the last, golly, how long? You didn't have to compete really with online sales and with, Petco, PetSmart, or anywhere else like that. If you had something in a fish store, or really the wholesalers only sold to fish stores. So I can imagine they probably switched to that. I don't know when they would have, because of course I've only been able to get it. Yeah, I saw your message, Mr. Select Pet. But anyway, or I saw the notification for it. That's the other great thing about Facebook and Instagram is I get a notification for it so I can answer it sooner. Anyways, but but I would assume that they switched to it sooner rather than, even 5-6 years ago, I would think that it would be a sooner or a development that happened pretty recently. That's what I would think.
I was laughing at your first video on Facebook over here.
My first one? Oh.
The last one you posted on the 3rd. You were doing an unboxing. And then you went to, what was it? Get some scissors?
Yeah.
And you dropped the scissors. I think this is where I got your thumbnail photo.
It is, yeah. I was really happy.
About here. Snap. But anyway, guys, that's Facebook. Go over there and hit him up for any questions or anything over there. He sells saltwater, freshwater fish accessories, dogs, cat, bird, reptiles, and small animal products and accessories. And website is mobile friendly. That's what it says.
Yay.
Maybe we need
Cool.
to update and work on that.
Yeah, I only sell fish stuff now, but okay.
Hint.
Yeah.
I do WordPress. I do WordPress websites.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, I cheat and use templates and customize them.
It's probably still better than the one I've got. So.
Well, you know, some people are doing Spotify websites, and I forget. Huh? Not Spotify. Not Spotify.
I was about to say that's the music.
That's the music. Yeah. Okay. Old 62-year-old brain here. I can't think right now.
No. Have there been any questions about fish or anything?
No cues. I asked them to put a cue before it. And Select Pet says, yes, my store was about 10 years ago, and the wholesale closed down shortly after because the owner and his managers decided to retire together. I hate that. Like, don't do it at the same time.
I was going to say, golly. Wow.
Oh. Wow, but you said for about a year you've been the owner here. What is your format in the store? It's local walk-in business.
Yeah, it's walk-in. Golly, I mean, what do you mean as far as format? We've got freshwater on the right, saltwater on the left.
I think earlier we discussed no shipping at this time, but you're in the future.
In the future, I'm thinking about it. So right now, we're in kind of like phase 1 for me. So I've got kind of a 7-year plan as far as what I'll be doing. And phase 1 is just kind of getting the store back up in order. So working from a place of, you know, he built it for until probably the 90s, and then he kind of plateaued. So it's very old. Like all the tanks have sponge filters. They all have fluorescent bulbs, and it's just very. I literally have. I don't know if anybody knows what these are, but Odell tanks. I don't. No. Maybe everybody. So Odell fish tanks is a very old fish tank brand that went out of business a very long time ago, but they last a long time.
Are they metal frame?
Not metal frame. They're not. They're like if you took a step after metal frame, we're right there. And a lot of them still have the little Odell logo. And I love stuff like that. That's like old in the hobby, and I'm a sucker for it. But they're about the thickest glass and the heaviest glass aquariums that you'll ever carry in your entire life. I've got one that's a 40-gallon, and then I've got like 10, 20 gallons that are still Odell. But just to give people a sense of how old the equipment and the way that the store was taken care of is. So making sure that I renovate that and make sure that we are carrying stuff that is, you know, better suited for today rather than just carrying, you know, neon tetras and swords and mollies and platies, getting a good assortment in and changing that type of thing. Also, we'll be changing filtration. I've already started on changing lights, getting them all synced in. Mainly just aesthetics, changing that, and then getting more organized as a business. It's they're very great quality tanks. But no, we can't sell them until they leak. I'm going to use them until they die. But yeah, no.
I have to interrupt you for this hilarious question that goes around from every stream to every Facebook group. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready. Is it from Tennessee Aqua?
That's from Robbie.
Oh, okay. How many guppies can you put in a 10-gallon? Oh my gosh. you guys are going to be really mad at me because I used to breed guppies for
how many M&Ms in the one? We're
how
back.
many M&Ms in what?
1 gallon container.
Right.
I have
I think
had a 1 gallon glass bowl with hundreds of guppies and guppy grass in it when I was 12 and 13 and 14 years old.
oh my gosh.
It was
Wow.
it might have been a 2 gallon bowl, but
Wow.
it was given to me. These were wild caught out of the Chesapeake Bay, Colonial Beach there in Virginia, and they're
Wow.
endless today. But to me,
Yeah.
back in the 70s, they were guppies. I had the leer tails and the top swords, bottom swords. I didn't have any endlers with the bars on them, but all of these had those pretty rainbow iridescent spots all over them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I used to breed. That's really what sent me spiraling down into this hobbies. I used to breed guppies a lot, and I had 2 brute trash cans, and I had that were the 35 brutes, and then I had 140 breeder that I started with the guppies, and it was golly when I took that tank down, there was less than 500. There was like 460 guppies in that tank, and it was insane. So that tank was literally just for my Delta rainbow guppies. They didn't have Dumbo ears, but they were Delta, so they had the big fins and the big top fin, and then they had the red, blue, green, black, on the tail. And they were beautiful, but 470 something guppies in a 40 breeder. I had no idea there were that many because I had about from side to side and front to back, it was just plumb full of Italian Val. So I had this forest of Italian Val, and I would see probably 100 guppies in the front at all times, but I had no idea how many guppies were in that tank. That was insane. Oh, I miss guppies.
But see, they can thrive. They really
Yeah,
can. And people would say, well, today that's just abuse, that's neglect. And not, I mean, in
they were
that
happy.
they were happy, or they wouldn't keep
Yeah.
reproducing, right? Uh, Hallelujah. Anyway, Robert was just apologizing. He was messing with you. So I assumed you had a story also about how many guppies can you have in a 10 gallon. Mine wasn't 10 gallon. I will say mine was a 2 gallon bowl. And when
Yeah.
I started keeping fish again 7 years ago, my mom asked me this question. She says,
Mm.
"Oh my God, Susan, do you remember how many guppies we had in that? I think it was a 13-gallon aquarium. I
Oh
don't,
my
it
God.
was such an odd shape back
Yeah.
in 74. I tell you how old I am before you were born. But but okay, I know Bob at Kaler's Aquatics and Exotics has done 2 video tours, I think, of your store. They're on
Hmm.
his YouTube channel. But to those of us who can't see your whole store right now,
Yeah.
what kind of brand products do you kind of keep on your shelf?
Mm. That's really hard because I try and keep a lot of things. I've got a lot of Fluval. I've got a lot of, and if you don't know, Fluval is under the brand name or the company Hagen, the umbrella company Hagen, and I keep a lot of Hagen stuff. I keep a lot of Marineland. Keep a lot of Chem. Plenty of. I'm trying to think. I've got Dustin's Fish Tanks line. I've got
Okay.
Corey from Aquarium Co-op's line, the Easy Green. I've got who else do I have? I've got I'm trying to think. Aqua Vitro is of course another company of Seachem, so I've got them. I've got API. I've got Tetra. I've got Aquion. I'm literally thinking about filters now. Aquion. I've got New Life Spectrum. I've got Cobalt. I've got Extreme. I've got Hikari. Um, and then I have a lot of random products that I like a lot of Fritz. And then I have a lot of random products that I like from different companies.
You have a
If that
really
makes
nice variety. Yes, you do.
Thank you. I try, if I like something, I want to keep it because everyone has different preferences and everyone has different things that they like to do and keep. And there's a million ways to do this hobby. I'm not just going to keep the way that I do. I'm going to keep the way that Joe does, and I'm going to keep the way that Sarah does, and the way that anyone does. I want to be able to help them in any way possible.
I have a question for you, and you can answer it or you can refuse to answer it.
Cool.
There is a box fish store in my area, and
Mm-hmm.
when I purchased fish from them, he
Mm-hmm.
told me they keep a little bit of salt in all of their freshwater aquariums. It's
Which
in their
is,
sump. They add it in their sump.
yeah, it's to keep parasites off of the fish.
Yeah, to build up the slime coat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you do the same thing?
I do not. So my approach at fish keeping is I want to keep them the same here as the median of my customers would at their houses. So the median of my customers are not going to buffer. They're not going to put salt in their tanks. They're just going to use tap water and chlorine remover. So I want any fish that I sell at my store to be okay to take from my tanks to their tanks. A big problem. I have plenty of snails, Mr. Mystery Snail Guardian. I have so many snails you wouldn't believe. I have a lot more than when we did the tour and you asked me the same question. I've got red mysteries, ivory mysteries, blue mysteries, lavender mysteries, and then I have and then gold mysteries, and then I also have chestnut mysteries, zebra neurites, horn neurites, olive neurites, red racer neurites, black neurites, and freshwater snails, trapdoor snails, and assassin snails. And then ram's horn snails and Malaysian trumpet snails are everywhere. Anyways, back to the question. What the heck was I talking about before snails?
How you keep your water quality for your customers.
Yeah. So I keep my water quality the same way that I would assume my customers are going to keep it. I use salt as a medication, and I take it out of the water before I sell out of that tank again.
I think that if it's working for you, that's really a great way to keep your fish alive in your customers' homes.
Mm-hmm.
My next question to you would be, how is your quarantine system set up, and do you quarantine your fish for a certain length of time?
So we don't have really room for a quarantine system. So the way that Carl and the way that really all old fish stores used to do it is they put the fish in the tanks, and if there was a problem, there was a problem, and they still sold out of the tanks. But that is not how I believe in doing it, and that's not, in my opinion, that's not right. If I'm quite frank, if you care about your hobbyists, if you care about the quality of the fish that you're selling, there's going to be some level of dedication that you put into keeping those fish. Unfortunately, since I have a half freshwater, half saltwater room, I don't have room for quarantine tanks or store. I don't have room for quarantine tanks because where I would put freshwater quarantine tanks, I have saltwater. And where I would put saltwater quarantine tanks, I have freshwater. When I have my bigger store, I will have a quarantine area. But right now, how I do it is all of my lights can disconnect based on the tank. And if a tank is sick, the light goes off, and we do not sell out of that tank for a week to 2 weeks, depending on how long, depending really on what type of infection they have. But that's how we do it. If there are fish that obviously come in with diseases, or usually come in with diseases like puffers, loaches, anything scaleless gets held for at least a week before it goes for sale. But that's in tank.
Your audio
In
went
a
out.
separate.
Okay, you're back. You're back now.
Oh, apologies. What did you hear?
Um,
What did you miss?
Probably
it's okay. I'll just say it again.
The last two sentences after that's not how
Okay.
you do it.
Yeah, that's not how you do it. If you have, so how I do it is, you're able to see any of my tanks that are sick or fish that I'm not selling yet. They get held for a week to 2 weeks depending on the infection. Fish like puffers, loaches, anything scaleless that comes in, or anything that comes in obviously sick from my wholesalers and from anywhere, we turn off the light on the tank and they get treated for, of course, the next week or however long it takes to get them good and ready to be sold. And then that light comes back on and we sell out of those tanks.
I have been in fish stores where all down the wall they were all lit, but one or two tanks. And I would ask the owner, I said, "What's going on?" They said, "Well, we're medicating those tanks." So,
Yeah.
that's, to me, that's business.
Yeah.
I don't sell out of that tank until they've been through their medication. Then the lights come on. We net out the dead fish and do water change, and we're ready to go.
Yep.
We got a question on the screen for you by Select Pet. What are the store hours on a typical weekend in case a nameless fish keeper would want to make the 3-hour drive to pick out some of those awesomely kept fish?
Thank you. Our weekend hours, we're open every day of the week. The only day that is different, so every day of the week we're open 10 to 8. It would be awful if we were open 8 to 10. We're open 10 to 8. And then on Sundays we're open 1 to 6.
Well, that's awesome. That's going to have to be the last question for today.
No.
I don't want to run into the next person streaming, which, Lori, right. I forget who it is. It might be, it's Rocco and the Coast, Third Coast. They're in Texas. I think he's next. And I want to thank you so much, Ethan. This has been so much fun. Next time we're going to ask for a little tour.
Bring it on. I'm always willing.
And I may have to make a personal trip.
Bring it on, please.
I think it's a 3-hour drive for me as well, Select Pet. So you could have even been asking for moi. But anyway, thanks again for being my special guest today. Thanks everyone who's been in the chat and made comments and asked questions, comments. And of course, you can read Mystery Snail Guardian's comment yourself. I won't put that one on the screen. Can you see it? It's 3 up from the bottom.
Yeah, I see it.
So that will be between you two. I want to thank everyone. And if you would like to be a guest on a Thursday with Susan for SLC Aquatics, #FishFamMom, please email me at score48@yahoo.com, or you can hit me up on Facebook Messenger. And of course, I am at Twitter. I am at Instagram. I do have a website, and we're going to work on Ethan's website so that he can get him a Gmail account to where only website mail goes to Gmail. All your other business goes to Ethan, or at wherever you receive your emails for your wholesalers and stuff like that. So
sounds great.
Sounds great. Then you need a secretary and all of that stuff. So you can just handle the unboxings, okay?
Sounds great to me.
Thank you so much. And if you've got a minute, don't go anywhere after the show. And we'll see you all next time. This is Susan for SLC Aquatics and Ethan of Fish Mania. God bless.